York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.arganissima.com. Arganissima, New York. Your beauty is our...
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Fit and Fab channel, iHealth Radio with Hurricane H. And today we have an exciting, topic that we're going to discuss, which will include a little bit of food, meals, fitness, coaching. We're going to do a little bit of a whole, mashup of things. And it's all about you. It's all to make you feel healthier, get you healthier, feel better, and you name it. But I have an actual special guest. And again, I always say my guests are all special, and they are. But every time I have a new special guest with a special angle. And so with me today, I have Susannah Sprague, and she's also known with a different name in her past, and she'll tell us about that as Susie Feldman. And she is a phenomenal person with a lot of background. I mean, acting, modeling, entrepreneurial, corporate, you name it. She helps people. So I am excited to have her with me on the set, on the show today. And really, I have a lot of questions, and I know we're going to be excited about the discussion here, and it's going to get tense, and we're going to talk about it. So without any further ado, Susannah, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Happy Friday. How are you?
TGIF, right? I'm doing great. Yeah. I'm happy. As you can see, I by the way, I enjoy doing this. And by the way, I forgot to say that you're also a fellow podcaster and you have your own podcast. So, yep. And I think I'm on a hook for being on it eventually. As a guest.
You are, absolutely.
Oh boy. Okay. So I'm gonna, hold on to my seat on that one. But yeah, so definitely, I want to share with our audiences your background. I mean, it's impressive. I mean, you were in the acting world, and you've done a lot of that, a few years back, and you transformed to different things. And it's awesome because, like I told you, this is going to be a very unique show because we're going to talk about, maybe a little bit acting, fitness, coaching, wellness, food, a lot of stuff. And I think it would be very good for our audiences to know that it's people do different things in life, and they're all exciting things, and they do take from their experiences and share with you. And really, someone like you, Susannah, will be a tremendous resource right now in terms of information and experience to share with our folks here. So let's start with the first things, and tell us about yourself, your story, your history.
Yeah. Oh, my history. Wow. Well, I don't know if we have enough time for the history, but yeah, my name is Susannah Sprague. And yeah, I've lived a lot of different lives. I have to say that I've transformed into different people at different stages. I definitely believe that we all should. I had an idea, like when I was a little girl, I was going to be a marine biologist. I was like, for sure, I was going to study like whales or algae, or I don't know what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to be. I don't know why that was like such a. I really wanted to study that. And then it changed into something else, and then changed into something else and something else. And when I was younger, I really thought like, oh man, I should just pick one thing and stick to it forever. Why would I limit myself to sticking to one thing forever? I do believe in mastering something. Definitely. So, but I don't think you have to stick with it forever to master something. I think you can focus your energy and do it for a while, integrate yourself and integrate it into your life, and then master an aspect of life, a characteristic, a skill, or whatever. And then you can move on and learn more things. So, if I look backwards, I can see that that's what I've done. I've lived a lot of different lives, and, mastered some of them, and so here I am now working on some new mastery skills and some new integrating different things and learning more. Like I'm always learning. So, yeah.
Well, I have to say, Susannah, you've almost defined the story of all successful people.
Yeah.
And anyone that wants to succeed, I think, should consider having multiple hats, and to your point, master some and dabble with others, and not, and just basically a lot of different eggs in different baskets, try different things, error by trial. There's all those things that I think, and I watch a lot of successful people doing their pitches and stuff and talk about their success stories, and they all have the thing in common that they all try different things. And they, and you pick anyone today from the top, elite of all the entrepreneurs and business people, you'll find that they've tried, sold different things. By the way, you did sell too. So it's amazing. Like there's these common elements that are across all these folks, and it's available to everyone. That's the other thing. When we think only those top people that we think that we look up to, everyone listening, watching right now across the globe has those characteristics. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to get into that or not. And try it. Listen, this show can give you a whole different angle, but you can watch others and different podcasts and you will learn that there is that. And yeah, sometimes you do different things and you find yourself in something totally different. You start with one thing. I started in tourism. I was a tour guide, then I wound up in sales, then I wound up in insurance, healthcare, and then now in the media. So, it's all fun stuff, but it's amazing. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just going to say that a lot of what you've just shared just has some very common things, with dealing with people, right? So, tour guide, you've got to be a good people person, your communication, and insurance, that's caring about people, and media is now you are in front of people and communicating with people. So to me, that just, there's a thread, and they're different areas, but they actually have some commonalities, and that's probably, you're just mastering your people skills with each one.
Well, I want to thank you for that, because I didn't think about it on my side, but I appreciate that. But it's true. You're right. I mean, at the end of the day, what I do is something I love, but it all has to do with sharing with people, loving people, doing things, and always being there for people. And that's actually my mission. I believe in that. I've always been about helping people, others, one way or the other. Yeah. And even like when I train sales folks, I always say that you're not selling anything. You're helping people find the service or the products that they need for whatever reasons. And then as long as you define it that way, and as long as you can show them that value, the sale is happening. Yeah. and that's really what helping people is really the matter of everybody's, it's really everybody's mission. Yeah. And I think everybody should kind of like just sit back and like, maybe, do I have that?
You find out what people need, you find out what people need, then you can provide them with what they're looking for. It's really important to ask the right questions and then listen to, because people's languaging tell you a lot about what they actually need. Sometimes people can't actually verbalize very well, like specifically what they need, but you can tell in some, the way people talk about themselves, that'll give you a good indicator. It's part of why I do a podcast as well, is I really love asking questions to get people to kind of explain their life or talk about themselves maybe in a way that they never have before. And so I love picking brains. I just, getting people to talk, open up and share is, it's a passion of mine as well. So, it's that talking to people.
Susannah, you're scaring me. So now I'm thinking the day I'm going to go on your show, I'm going to be like, you'll start working my brains out here. All right, let's see. I'm going to get prepped for you. Okay.
And let you have a fun experience. Like, oh, wow, I've never been asked a question like that before. I mean, that's probably one of my biggest compliments that I ever get is like somebody goes, oh, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or no one's ever asked me that before. I love that kind of, interaction with people. So, and you're saying that you're trying to tell your guests, your viewers and stuff, that anybody can do this and anybody can, and I do believe that your environment will either support change or evolution or transformation. And even if it's not supporting it, like let's say you've got friends or family that don't believe in, what it is that you're trying to change within yourself, or they just don't see it, or, they don't identify, you can do it on your own. That is the other part that I think people get stuck and think like, oh, I've got to do it a certain way to make people happy, or, my family's only ever lived this way for so long. And, I just have to do it that way because that's the way it's always been done. 100% you do not have to do things the way it's always been done, and each one of us has that inner strength. It's our responsibility, the person's responsibility to go, okay, do I like what my life looks like right now? If the answer isn't 100% a hell yes, why? And those are important questions. So when I do like asking other people questions, but asking myself hard questions, that's what has shifted me along the path of like, is this who I want to be? Do I like who I am? Do I like what I see in the mirror? Because my reality is this product of what I've been doing and decisions I've been making. Am I proud of all of that? And if I'm not, what do I want to change? And those are those like mirror questions that I believe truly that each person is responsible for asking themselves. So do you have it in you? You do, but you do have to ask yourself the right questions first.
Well, Susannah, I have to say you're touching on a lot of elements right there. And
Yeah.
Some of them are really powerful ones that people, as you listen right now to the show, just know that what Susannah is talking about is really everyone. And you're right. You might have your entourage, your surroundings, your family, your friends. And some of them, believe it or not, I mean, there's a good percentage of folks that maybe around you may not support you and your ideologies and whatever. And if you're looking for, them to give you that feedback and you wait for that, you might not, really find yourself, So yes, if it's there, it's welcome. But if it's not, if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you want, just do it. And that's important. But also you're talking about that discussion, with yourself. And that's the other thing. A matter of fact, the last show I had, we talked about that element as well, which is you got to have that self-talk. And it starts, am I doing this? What am I doing? So on and so forth. And you know what? It's all about you. Yes, you have a mission, you want to help, you want to do whatever, but it is still, it starts with you, and you are the guide and you are in the driver's seat. You can make moves. And if someone, and by the way, to your point, if no one is really seeing your vision, you can have your own and I mean, you have it already, just deliver it, go for it. People are going to look at you crazy. They're going to like, well, this guy's losing it. Nothing. Here's the thing. So your success eventually will speak loud, and that's the bottom line. And then like, oh, he did.
And
it.
you'd be amazed with the kind of people you'll attract into your life when you're feeling like, if you're confidently on your path and you're like, you know what, to hell with everyone's opinions or judgment. I have a passion in me, or I have an idea, or I have a goal, or whatever it is. People are attracted to that kind of confidence or certainty. And they're not attracted to, whether or not you've got a bunch of people behind you. What really matters is like, you can just tell, you can spot BS. I mean, we all have BS detectors. So no matter what you're doing, if you do it with the certainty of, I absolutely believe in myself, no matter what, people are drawn to that kind of energy. So for me, no matter what role I'm in or what hat I'm wearing or whatever, I have to stand in it. Like I have to stand in it. And when I stand in it, it just resonates with people. I don't have to try hard. I don't have to convince anybody. They can just read it, on my face, my body language, my energy, whatever. So that's how I end up attracting people into my life, like the right people, is when I'm, steady and certain about what I'm doing, so that's a key component, is just that the confidence that we exude, This is all like, I'm not even going to try and say that my confidence has been an overnight thing and I just was born with it and all of that. 100%, definitely not, so it's taken years. And when I say years, I mean decades of that deeper inner soul work and that really icky self-talk conversation of like, do I like what I'm doing? Because a lot of the times for many years, the answer to do I like who I am was a resounding no. So until it turns into a yes, it's kind of icky. Like it's dark and not fun. So I stand here confident today, but I wasn't always here. Even I did, we were going to talk about like the Hollywood part. You would think that it being in front of cameras and, modeling or acting or, getting attention that way or accolades that way or anything like that would just be automatic. Yeah, I'm confident. I know. I'll be honest. I think a lot of the people that I've ever known that were famous on any kind of level, some of the least confident people I've ever met in my life. And it's not an automatic thing, they have to carry themselves that way. But if once you kind of peel back the layers, a lot of them are not very confident, myself included at the time, so.
Well, Susannah, thank you for bringing that up, because
Yeah.
People always are afraid because they fear I'm not confident enough. I can't do this. Confidence has to do with it, but you develop that. And we all start at a point where we're not sure. I can give you, I mentioned when I was a tour guide, right? But I can tell you this, my first day, I was given a pitch and they say, this is a test. You're going to have to do this and you got to take people. And I had about 50 people on that first tour. And I'm actually at Disney now, that was at Disney World. Mm-hmm. And, this is not somewhere you're going to miss with, with your guests, right? Right? And so I had no choice. I knew my pitch. I had to throw in some personality and get fun with it. And I did it. The thing is, you got to just do it, and you'll get better one day at a time, but you have to start somewhere and your levels are going to start just adding up, and it's going to take time. Yeah. And no matter what you do, whether it's at work, at school, sometimes you want to do a presentation.
And, like love, like romantic, it's all that stuff. You got to start before you're ready. That I know. You have to start before you're ready, because if you wait till you're ready, you'll never be ready. What do you do?
That's the biggest mistake a lot of people make, where they're like, oh, I don't have everything in place to get started. Well, I mean,
no one does.
I'm gonna give just the show here, the set. Yeah. I mean, this set literally started with one camera and just me trying to figure it out. I didn't even know how to use all this stuff. I was watching YouTube and learning different things and what audio stuff I have to use, blah blah blah. But that didn't stop me. I'm like, I'm gonna do it with the minimum. And literally, I spent very little money on it, and then I started doing it. And you can, if you go to my YouTube right now and just watch the first shows, they're gonna look pathetic.
Very different, right?
But you know what? It looks like an evolution over time. But for me, every day I'm learning, I'm tweaking, I'm adding new things. But that's how it is. But the one thing that's in common is I knew I wanted to do this, and it's gonna happen. Period. And out. The rest is history. Yeah. Same thing when I started my career in healthcare. Yeah. I started. You want to be the executive. Yes. Bottom line, that was my goal, period and out. So whatever it takes to get there legally and ethically, that's exactly what it is. Took work, took time, but you expedite, so that's the thing. And I'm not talking about myself really. I just want to give the example that, we're just normal people that tried, and they try and keep trying, and they have, you put a vision and a mission and you go after it. And anyone listening, watching, you are the same. You're not any different. You can, and if you are surrounded, as you mentioned earlier, with people that may not support that, you got to make decisions on who's around you, who's behind you, who's not, and it's okay. You don't owe anyone anything. That's the other thing. You owe yourself and your immediate, people who love you, the success, and you take it that way. And if someone supports it, welcome. If they don't, thank you. Either way, you thank them. Because I find sometimes when the people don't do anything for me, it gives me more motivation to succeed. So I say thank you to them any given day.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so Susannah, I wanted to also talk about, you mentioned something about Hollywood and acting. Yeah. You're right. I mean, we see it. We see the glamour. We see the people, having that facade and really standing strong. But, behind the scenes, I mean, I know some actors that actually have, stage fright before they get into the camera and the stuff that happens behind, it's not even funny. Even here, sometimes in the podcast, like I have to think about what I have to do and how to say it. Yeah. And you're like afraid to mess it up. But you know what? You don't think about that. Yeah. Once you're in it, you just get involved in it, and it's this dialogue, and it takes its own life form, right? And but you're right. They all are human, and humans by mistake, by default, they do have weaknesses. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. So no one is invincible. No one is super, from a different planet. We all come from the same world, and we share the same genetics technically. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we have the similarities. And I think everyone, again, watching and listening, we have actually, a true actor, who has been in Hollywood, who's been with all those famous people, and she was there, and you Google her up, you're going to see a lot of good stuff, a lot of, glamour pictures, and, she's here with us today. But really think about it. She is telling you, folks, she is telling you what she had to go through. That is, and we're going to talk about that in further details, but really it is coming from someone that's been there. So, you're going to do it. You will do it as long as you're willing and able to do it. So go for it. That's all I got to say. So Susannah, let's talk about that. let's talk about that. Your Hollywood experience. I mean, that's not easy. First of all, to get into it, that's hard. And when you're there to keep it with all the pressure and it's got to have a lot of stress.
Yeah. Well, I married into it, if that makes sense. I married someone who had been famous for a long time. They'd been since they were a little kid. And so, when I entered into that, world, I was just a kid. I was like 19 years old. I was just like, I'm from Southern California, but I was from not Los Angeles, like way east of Los Angeles, in a more like, it's not so rural anymore. It's pretty built up, but it was rural when I was living there. And so it's pretty smallish, compared to LA. And so when I met my ex-husband and, entered into Hollywood and all of that, I was still, I was so wide-eyed and like, as mature as I was still pretty naive. And, I didn't have to enter into any of that, totally alone or anything like that. My ex-husband, he, like I said, he'd been famous, since he was little. And so he had a lot of experience and, we had some TV shows together, we did some movies together, some magazine shoots, just various other things. And, just sprinkled throughout the time we were married. And, it is not an easy, it's not easy, it looks really, I wish that everyone could try it just maybe for 6 months, just to be on the other side of it, right? Where you can be criticized for the smallest thing and have, I was never on like the cover of People with no makeup and they're like, oh, stars without makeup. But could you imagine, just like being a normal person, being a beautiful human being, it doesn't matter if you're beautiful or not, but you're just this beautiful human being. And if you're not like, flawless, they just zoom in on your face and put it on the cover of, Us Weekly and like, oh, look how old she is. And then I couldn't even imagine what that's, I can't imagine, but I'm just saying the criticism and the vile behavior that they have to kind of navigate and still stay kind of sane. I got a little glimpse of that. We had a TV show on A&E and, it was a reality show and I was like, my first time really being like having people access to me. And this was like, the internet was around, but there was no Instagram and there was no Facebook even at this time. So thank God. Yeah, seriously. But, people still had access to me and they could, hop onto imdb.com and just blast me for whatever reason. And I would go and I would read it. And it was some of the worst things that have ever been said about me, ever. I've been called like the Antichrist, so there was a period in which, as much as I wanted to put myself out there, the risk, it's painful. It was really painful. And I'm talking as far as my celebrity-ishness went, I was pretty low on the totem pole, it's not like I was this, A-list actress or anything like that. So I can only imagine if you took my situation and you multiplied it by, 1 million, that's what they're going through. And so it is glamorous and it's beautiful and, it's, and we do look up to these people, but it would be great if each individual had to be in the global spotlight for 6 months and have all of their, isms and flaws and what they look like without makeup, just all of that plastered, just so we could each feel what it feels like. And I really think if we put ourselves in the shoes of the other person, and this is with everything in life, but we're talking about Hollywood, I think if we put ourselves in the position of other people, I think we'd be a lot kinder. If we even knew what it felt like to be exposed and to be under some kind of microscope and you have to live up to some certain like perfection standard or whatever, I think people would be a lot kinder. These keyboard warriors can be, kind of pathetic, but I guess people really get off on it or whatever. It's because they've never had it done to them, and it's that like, you don't treat people the way you wouldn't want to be treated, but so then in a nutshell, that's my
Susanna,
experience. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. I mean,
Yeah.
and by the way, a lot of people may be like, really? Is that how we're going? Well, it is. And I'll give you a simple example for folks that have not experienced Hollywood today. But all you have to do is start a YouTube channel or a TikTok page.
Yeah.
You don't even have to go far. As a matter of fact, people, you're gonna find the haters. You're gonna find the people that will just, blast you for nowhere. Some people will actually want to get, very known and famous, on your behalf just by criticizing you. So you can just go in and and I see it all the time. You go on a TikTok, you put something. I mean, not me specifically, but I've seen people and the critics that I read on the comments and things like that. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's amazing how much of that is available already. And I'm talking to your point. You don't even have to experience Hollywood to experience it today. As long as you become some sort of a celebrity in a world. YouTube is actually its own Hollywood.
I know.
And believe it, they have their own YouTube celebrities and things like that. Yep. TikTok also now is becoming the next, thing. Instagram, right? You mentioned all those ones. And by the way, you're right. With those two, those three, the social media, now forget about it. Everybody has an opinion about you.
Yes.
Everybody. One day they'll have an opinion about me too. So far I'm still hidden. That's a good thing. But you never know, right? But the fact is, I have to say this today, and maybe someone will watch this one day and like, oh, did he say that? Yes, I'm gonna say it now. Listen, what I do, I'm confident to do this, to help people and give them resources and give them, access to information. And I do it with pride. And you know what? People that will not like me, they whatever they want to say about me, it's okay. I'll welcome it. Just do it. I'm not going to worry about it, but I do worry about what I say to people is this: I'm doing something. If you want to criticize me, do better than me, and I'll follow whatever you do.
Exactly. It's that man in the arena. It's like the people are not in the arena. And it's like if you want, just like you said, if you don't like the way I do it, absolutely do it better or do it differently. By all means, please.
You got my support.
Yes, absolutely. Human beings have this negativity bias, where we are always looking for what's wrong or what's missing. And it can be easy when you're anonymous to, just focus on the negative. People do that, but that's not why you do it. And that's not why I do it. I don't do it for the people that don't like it. I do it for the people that do like it. Even if there's two of them, if I'm making two people be able to feel good about what I say resonates with them, and I kind of open up something in their head and they think and they kind of expand, two people, great. I don't need 2 million. Two people, can affect 2 million.
1% a day.
Yeah.
And it adds up over the years, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. But you're right. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, people do it, and the reason they do it, it's easier. It's and people will look at they look at you at your success. They don't look at all the stuff that you have to go through before you got there, the time, the sleepless nights, the money you spend, the hours you spend to get whatever you are. And then they're just coming like, oh, look at her, look at him. What kind of dress is that? What kind of look is that? Whatever. He shouldn't be on camera, whatever the case may be. Guess what? Just try yourself, be in front of camera and show us what you got. We'll be more than happy to. I won't even criticize anyone. I'll just support you.
Oh, support.
I have very simple rule. If I like what you have, I'll watch it. If I don't, I'll move on to the next one. Switch channel.
It's so easy, right? It's so easy. You don't have to even say anything. You can just watch something else.
Well, no, that's the thing. People will go in and make a comment,
which takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and you really took the time to actually do this. Thank you. I mean, at least you watch my stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Some people are recurring, critics on your own feed. I'm like, go for it, keep coming. I mean, that's okay. Sometimes they give you credit because if they share it, people will see it. Maybe someone will learn from you.
Yeah, and every time they click, it's a click. All clicks are good clicks, I guess. Right?
Well, listen, I mean, thank you for sharing that. And again, for people watching and listening all around the world, if you have a dream and you have a vision, go for it. Do not allow anyone to tell you otherwise. Take whatever necessary steps. It's not going to be easy. Know that nothing is easy in life. And, even in your case, you said you got into Hollywood through marriage and stuff, and you had the support system. Still, it was difficult. Imagine someone who didn't have that. But at the end of the day, it's you. And everyone in Hollywood today, standing, all the top, to your point, the A-list that we admire. Guess what? They all have a story, and they can tell you how it started. And some of them, they really struggle a lot, and they made it. And yes, you're right. They're under the spotlight every single moment. They can even have a private life. You know, people know how they dress, where they go, what they eat, how much they eat, you know, what's their weight. You know, sometimes feel lucky that you don't have to be in the spotlight, but it is a dirty job, and someone's got to do it, as they say.
Yeah. Well, and that was a big part of why when my marriage ended, I just wanted to switch gears completely, you know, and really start a life where it was the opposite of that. Like I didn't want to hide, but I wasn't interested in pursuing fame any further than what I had experienced. I had a taste, and I was like, okay, that was fun, but I'm going to go do some other things with my life. I don't exactly know what that is, but I think I'm going to just switch gears and go and do, you know, I don't know. Let's see where my life took me. And it did. It took me a completely different path, but it's cool to sit. I mean, I have the memories of it. I've met incredible people. I mean, I've been like, one of my favorite memories is I was at Madison Square Garden, and I was at the sound check of Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston when he was doing his like 40th anniversary thing. And this was like right before 9/11. And it was a sound check. So it was an empty Madison Square Garden, and myself, I'm like 19 years old, with my ex-husband, and we're in an empty Madison Square Garden, and Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston are sound checking. That is, I mean, that's what a magic little moment in time that I got to experience because of just where my life had taken me. And that's just one of many. So I got to do really cool things and meet really cool people, and, you know, incredible things. So in no way is it a regret or a bad thing. It was all a wonderful part of my life, and, you know, it has its up and down, but as far as like the fame and pursuing that, I'd seen enough, you know, I got enough of a taste for sure. And I just switched gears, and I've been, you know, living a very vanilla, quiet life ever since.
Well, that brought you to me here today. Yeah. So that changed life for you, and you went into the corporate, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And then you went to the coaching and helping people get better and feel better and look better. And then you went to starting a whole new company and service that is needed these days. So let's talk about that new life of yours. And you know, we switch gears. It's a perfect thing. You know, you changed, and we're going to change the topic right now.
Yeah. Well, I thought I'd help you with that segue, because
you did wonderful there. So
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's go there. You know, so corporate, you know, you took that as, you know, corporate can be also very devastating, very tough. It's not a picnic.
It can be. I didn't have any experience. You know, before that, I went through a period. So I got sober as well about 11 years ago. So in the in-between time, things were a little bit messy. And when I say a little bit messy, they were pretty messy, and hence the need to get sober and things like that, and kind of really change my life in that way. I didn't have any work experience. I had been a housewife. I'd been an actress. I'd been a model. But since I wasn't going to pursue that further, I had to support myself. And, you know, I worked a bunch of different jobs. I went to school to be a medical assistant. I was like a waitress. I was selling Herbalife. I was like doing like anything to just support myself, to be financially, you know, self-sufficient. And it led me to, I was selling wine and spirits as a sober person, which is kind of funny. And I did that for 7 years. And it turns out I was actually pretty good at the sales part, you know, the part where, because anybody can buy alcohol from anybody. It doesn't matter. It's not the alcohol that I was selling. And as soon as that clicked, and I was saying to you earlier about, you find out what someone needs, you know, maybe it's our whiskey, maybe it's their whiskey, but what's going to get them to buy from me and not the next guy is the way I make them feel, and finding out what they need and providing what they need, whatever that is, right? Obviously in the context of, the rules of whatever we're selling or the dynamic. But so I got really good at that, and I enjoyed it. And then the pandemic hit, And not that the wine and spirits business didn't skyrocket and explode from there, because I don't know if you remember at the beginning, you go into grocery stores and there's no wine on the shelves, and they're like all the alcohol had been like rummaged through it. You know, it was kind of crazy. But the company that I worked for was a big distributor of some major, you know, brands, and they were just doing some, you know, housekeeping, and they were laying people off, and I had the opportunity to, you know, apply again for my job. But the key here was that I was going to have to go back into a capacity that just, it didn't feel good with internally anymore. It was like a very clear, I got one of those like alarm bells, you know, my intuition was like, this isn't good. So I actually just, you know, I let them lay me off, and I was like, you know, now's the time for me to pursue something that brings me joy. And then the question is, what brings me joy? Had I ever stopped and asked myself that before? I hadn't. What actually brings me joy is like a grown woman. I got a teenage son, like I'm in a new marriage, like who am I now? You know, at this place in my life, what do I want to do? What brings me joy? And that's how I found, and that's how I started the meal prep business.
So Susannah, hold that thought. So
All
there's
right.
two things. First of all, I love the concept that you talk about sales. Maybe we have a whole, because I do have Sales World. There's a different channel, its own content, so we can have a whole sales session.
Totally.
And we can have fun with that. I mean,
I love sales. I love sales.
So we definitely might have to do a comeback on the Sales World part.
Sure.
But you're right. You know, first of all, I do want to say something that's important to our listeners and viewers. Listen to your story. I mean, you're perfect as a great example for anyone listening right now, because you've gone through ups and downs. You were top, you know, things happen, you changed lives. You were able to sustain all that. And no matter what, you didn't give up on yourself. And I think, you know, people will go through turmoil in their life. And I think it's an important thing to see that, you know, no matter how far you go up or whatever you are, things will change in life. Things happen. You know, we didn't expect the pandemic. It happened. It changed lives forever, right? And that's I think a great message for folks and listeners right now, viewers, that know this, that it can happen to anyone. It's not that it's not going to happen. Sometimes it's just a matter of when. It's not even if. But when it happens is what you do with it, and how, whether you're going to come out of it on the other side in a better place. You can, and you will. Many examples, you know, around us, and today is a great example of someone who's successful, but did have challenges in life, and things happen to any one of us. So don't ever think that it's not, once I'm in the top, it's going to be there. Sometimes it's hard when you're in the top to maintain it, you know, but either way, you make decisions, you live with them, but no matter what they are, they should not put you down. They should not, you know, get you in a state of mind where you're giving up on yourself, and you got to find a way to readjust. And you just said clearly, the question is, what makes me happy?
Mm-hmm.
So we all want to have that question. I think the minute we know what makes us happy, life will never be the same.
Do it. What makes you happy, and how can you make money doing it? Why is that a why isn't that taught in school? Like, find out what sparks that like drive, what gets you excited, what makes you feel good, and then how can you make money at it? And the more money you make, the more people you can help, the bigger it gets, like the further your reach. So bring on the money so that I can help the more people, or do further expand my joy, you know, and spread my, once I'm happy and like living in that place, I can't help but infect the people around me with joy, you know? So for me, it's the money and the helping people and the pursuit of my own joy. Of course, I want to make money at doing what I love. Then it becomes just this beautiful dance of like giving and receiving and giving and receiving. And, you know, so I think asking yourself what makes you happy is, because I think we know a lot. I think that I'll speak for myself. I knew what made me unhappy. That I knew. I could really point that out. Okay, that makes me unhappy. I don't like that. I don't like that. What makes me happy? You know, that's a question that is not an automatic answer. It wasn't at the time. And I actually had some friends and some people in my life kind of help me sort out what I wanted to do. And that's why I named my company Joyful Meals, because it's joyful for me. And it's FULL. So like full, like a full belly. Right. So I saw a need, right? And being of service to people is a value of mine. So that brings me joy, is to help others feel good. So, okay, how do I help others feel good? And what am I good at? Okay, I'm good at cooking. People love my cooking. I've always, and it's very meditative for me, and it's always been that way. So, okay, so I do like cooking, and I like helping people feel good. I can absolutely make money doing that, and so I did. I went into a business for myself and started a vegan plant-based meal prep service for here in Los Angeles. And it just started with like a friend, and then a friend, and it just grew, and people really enjoyed it. And it was very, and I'm talking about it in past tense, because I have since closed the operations on it, because I am now on to new things, of course. But while I did it for 2 years, like I got to home make organic plant-based food that people loved. I mean, obsessed, kind of, addicted to, and I would deliver it to them. And so it was a very hands-on experience for me. And I loved it, and the people that I got to serve loved it. It did get to the point where the physical aspect of cooking many times a week, packing it all up, delivering it, got to be too taxing. So it started to like rub up against my joy, and then I have to stop and go, okay, am I still happy doing this? And if the answer is not a hell yes, I got to switch gears, and I did. And it's not I don't consider it a failure. I consider it it's a shift, it's a pivot, it's into something new. And I learned so much, I highly suggest people go into business for themselves. Check it out. You learn so much about yourself and the world and money and, all that stuff. So it was a failing forward for me.
Suzanne, there's no such thing as failing. You actually learned. It was an experience. You learned everything that you need for the next, chapter in life. Yeah. And I think that's two things I want to just highlight, key ones. One is you mentioned something about finding what you don't like about yourself. Yeah. And I think we all, again, we talked about, what do I like about myself? What do I want? What that's going to make me happy. But you're right. If we actually eliminate what does not make us happy, the rest is a lot easier, because once we know what is bad, the rest, all of the other ones is good, right? So we have to just find that and get it out the system and get it out of the way, and the rest is all yours. Now you can, figure out what's the best piece that makes you happiest at any given day. And you're right, you try it. You mentioned something about, business. Let me tell you something. I've been in business, on and off, literally since the 90s. I've had businesses all along. I work for corporate, and I always had a side gig, period and out. And that kept me going in terms of learning always different things. I've had some good ones. I've had some bad ones. And to me, the bad ones were just literally what happens is I start something that has 4 tentacles. I wind up with one that is successful and the rest are not. And I just keep going. And then one leads to the other. And that's how it is. By the way, I say it, and these are not $1 million, companies, but they sustain. They give me extra income that keeps me happy in my life, and that's it. And I'm not giving up. Right now I'm running about 4 of them. so at the end, and I still work for corporate. But the end, people say like, you're crazy. There will be a time where the idea is to get to that good business that's going to be it, and then you don't ever need to work for anyone, and you don't need. But that's the dream. That's what I want, and I'm working towards it. And I think again, some people may, in the US, it might be easier. Some people may be watching or listening right now across the globe. Doesn't matter where you are. The business doesn't mean this is, when we think business, we think like corporate America and a big, building. Business can be a home. Exactly. It can be a small thing. You can have a cart, a food cart and still make money. At the end of the day, whatever it is, if you have an idea, make it work.
Make it work.
If you haven't, I have an invention that's patented, literally, and it's actually, live. Yeah. It was an idea that came up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to, and I learned about anything about invention, protocols, about patent, and the whole process.
Which is a whole process in and of itself. Yeah.
Listen, it's still opportunity for me to make millions with it. If it happens and someone picks it up and gets licensed, I'm good, but at least I have it. See, that's the other thing. Yeah. Put things in place. It's like planting seeds. You plant seeds. You don't know when those seeds are. Exactly.
never know.
You know, they'll take their time to mature. And then once that tree is nice and ready and you get those fruits, you'll be happy. But if you don't plant anything, don't complain. You don't expect anything. I have a 50-50 shot to get something, but you have 0 shot if you don't plant anything or start anything.
Yeah.
So,
you can't win the lottery unless you play the lottery. So
gotta be in it to win it.
Yeah, you have to. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
So when that's kind of the meal prep business started to seem like it was, draining me instead of feeding me, that I've got a finite time here on this planet. If it's feeding me, awesome, let's do it. I'll dig in, I'll water it, I'll nurture it, whatever it is. If it's draining me, it's got to go. It's got to go. It's got to go.
That's an important piece again.
Yeah.
People sometimes hang on to one thing and that means the end. If you push to the limit where you know that it's no longer feasible, you need to know when to stop.
Yeah.
When you have to change gears and switch left, switch right, do something different. That's another thing. I mean, see, I sound contradicting myself, like, sometimes, but it's not. I use all these concepts. So there is no one concept. You can use all of them. You can shoot for the stars, and if you miss the star, go to the next galaxy. That's all.
Exactly.
Figure something out, but don't get caught up. People get caught up, and I think that's a big deal. And just don't. You can do this. First of all, believe, know your stuff, know yourself. Get the ingredients to get you. And you're right. If you loved something, joyful. Yeah, it was happy. You're helping people. And that's the other thing. You said it earlier in sales. We help people. You make money helping people. That's it. And you did it for a couple of years. It worked, and it was the pandemic, right?
Yeah. And
Perfect timing
for the pandemic, Well, it had started with catering as well. And I was like really loving the catering part just because I had an opportunity to be creative, and I love being creative, and I love decorating things and things like that. So for me, it was, the food and cooking is very, like, it's therapeutic, it's meditative, but it's also very creative. And I really wanted to do the catering. And then the pandemic hit, and it was quite obvious that there's nothing to cater. So I had to switch gears and just focus on the meal prepping. And and it just kind of was being a drain on my energy, like physical energy, and then my emotional energy as well. So my husband had a really good idea, because I am a talker, if you haven't noticed, and I'm also a listener. Like, I'm one of those people that I've always had people reach out to me or lean on me or just ask me for advice, or since I was a kid, I'm the one that people call for advice, or just even somebody to listen to them. And, he's always talking about, like, that I've just got great points, and I'm really good at kind of helping guide people. And he's like, you maybe look into being like a coach, like a health coach or a life coach. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I did. And I went to school and I got certified and did all that. And what you were saying about starting a business, I could have a brick and mortar place, and I could go have a physical location, but the world, if we're being honest with ourselves, is moving away from that in a major way. Like we already were, and then the pandemic made it quite clear that business and interaction virtually this is where it's headed, and in ways that I don't even comprehend yet, but it's like, okay, I need to pivot and be with the times. And so I went to school and got a health coach certification, and I was doing that. And then I found the magical world of NLP and hypnosis. And I have to tell you, my life's never been the same. So, what I do now is I have Joyful Minds, which is my, I coach people. I help them with fitness. I help them with food. I help them with self-image. And I walk people through a breakthrough process that I myself have been through. And we go about a 10-week period, and I meet with them one-on-one, just like this on Zoom, and it's what's magic for me is I still get to help people. I still get to be of service, but I'm not physically taxed. Like I still have the physical energy, and I get to do it from home, and I get to be close to my husband and my dogs and my kid. And it doesn't stress me out. So I'm able to show up 100% for them and hold space for them and walk them through. And, and I have the skill set. I have incredible tools that, people transform by the end of the process. They're different people. For me, like it just that's what feeds me. And that's what, when I talk about whether it feeds or drains, watching people transform and change and find joy in their own lives again, that's what brings me happiness, like to be a part of that. So, and then I make money at it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a no-brainer, right? So win-win.
It is a no-brainer. I love it.
Susannah, it's amazing because what you describe is when you help people, there is no feeling that's better than that. You're with me on Facebook, so you probably see some of my posts. I'm all about, positivity and all the stuff. Whenever there's a quote that is positive, I plug it. As a matter of fact, about a few weeks back, I did a hypnosis. As you mentioned, hypnosis. I had a session with a guy, and we did live on the show where I got hypnotized for positivity. And, and I'm gonna tell you something. It works terrific. And it's almost like I was, energy level 10. I'm like 20.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny is everything that you do to help people, and whenever there's a success story behind, whoever you help, it just gives you that fuel to go more and do more. Again, for me, the shows. Every time we finish a show and I post it up and I know people are going to get something out of it, even to your point, 1 or 2 people that are going to get engaged with it and get value. That in itself to me keeps me going. That's the motivation. And so motivating others, inspiring people, helping people is a calling. And I think some of us do have that ability and we have it. Not everybody can do what we do. Some people are maybe shy. They can, take it to the next level, whatever the case may be. There's trainings for these things as well. But if you have it in you and you want to do it, go for it, help people. And you're right. At the end, if you can make money.
Look at the planet right now. Just anybody, even if you live under a rock, you can see how many people need help releasing the last 2 years. I do believe that we're going to just see residual effects over the next decade from the last 2 years. It's sitting in people's tissues, right? The fear, man, and other negative emotions and things like that, anxiety and stresses and things like now more than ever. So if anybody watching right now is called to make a real change and help people, the world needs helpers. The world needs therapeutic healers. And there is so many ways to help people. You could be a coach, you could be a therapist, but you could do like Reiki and foot zoning and somatic and Akashic records reader. I mean, there's so many ways, like depending on like what fascinates you, find an area that fascinates you. And I promise you there's a way to help others with it. The planet needs, helpers and healers and coaches and therapists, and, the world needs it right now.
Well, listen, I want to say thank you for your mission, because it is great. And you have, I mean, again, last couple of years, you've been doing it in terms of helping people eat correctly and eat right and healthy, plant-based, but now you took it to the next level. You make it a full package now. It's how to eat, how to live, how to, do things, how to deal with life. And I think that's the key, because sometimes we don't know how, we don't have it all figured out. I don't think anyone does. We all are kind of, just going with the flow, figuring things as we go and just learning tricks. But when you have somebody to guide you and give you all these elements to really find your way. And I know a lot of people who've used coaches that help. As a matter of fact, I've had guests on the show who actually, the reason they do the job they do, because they actually hired people originally to help them. Exactly. And they did it. And it's working phenomenal for them. And now they're successful. They're doing and making a lot of money with it.
I feel like we all need a mentor, or two.
And that is true. Everybody has one. I mean, I have a couple myself, and everybody, and I appreciate everybody that ever had an impact in my life and taught me even one little thing. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everyone for whatever good and bad. Like I say, I have this statement that's funny, but I say, I love everyone and beyond and more as much as they love me. So whatever that means, if they love me well, guess what? I love them more.
Yeah. But your mentors have mentors, and they have mentors. I mean, I did not get where I am today without, a tribe, just a string of influential people along the way. I wouldn't be who I am without the guidance of some, people that I trusted. That's not to say that I put trust into maybe some of the wrong people at some stages, but as we grow and we mature, when we know better, we do better. And when we do better, we actually attract different people into our lives. And so the quality of people that show up tend to get better just as as the inside gets better and the outside starts to improve as well. But I wouldn't be who I am without coaches and mentors and people that I can, call and ask for advice. And like, I have a committee basically of people that I run my ideas by. And, I love the input of others. I know what's true for me. Like my intuition I'm pretty spot on and I've got a pretty good rapport with it, but that doesn't mean that I won't run things by my committee, and they're trusted advisors like my husband, my dad's one of them. I have a mentor, a coach, and like I run them by all kinds of people. I have a sponsor in AA. Like I got a board of advisors I run my life by sometimes.
But Susannah, that's important for people to listen. I mean, who you mentioned right now, these are people that care for you, they love you, and they're there for you. And we all should, find and cherish those people. Yeah. And they are available out there, and frankly, some of them are closer than you think, and some of them you might not even know you're going to meet. But at the end of the day, and if the ones that are right now available may not be as good, well, find some other ones. You can and you will. You have the ability. So one thing I wanted to just touch base on, you said about the brick and mortar in the business world. Yeah. You're right. Today, Zoom and all these Skypes were available for a decade already, but they didn't, evolve to where they are until the pandemic. We just realized that even businesses now are going full virtual and distance. Yeah. Now, here's the thing with the meta space or the metaverse and all that stuff. I can guarantee you in about a year from now or a couple of years, we'll be sitting in a virtual, room together instead of doing this and just showing this way. We'll be sitting this. Actually, there is, if you go to your Zoom right now, there is a setting where you can have what they call immerse.
Yeah. We're like in the classroom or like a kitchen.
Yeah. We can be actually in the same space right now. That's just a glimpse of what you think of what a metaverse is going to look like.
Exactly.
Think about also you can have the hologram business going, and we'll be sitting in the same room. So it's going to get crazier, and we'll be able to share stuff, files in the sky and in the cloud, whatever.
Yep. And I think instead of fight it or think, oh, it's it's weird or it's just like get intrigued by where technology is heading. If you don't know a lot about it, myself included, I don't know a lot about it, but like be intrigued, be curious, look into it. This is the way it's headed, and it, as all things, it's evolving. Our communication and our ability to connect with people, on opposite ends of the planet. That's always kind of been there, but now it's supported by an infrastructure and also the cultural acceptance of it as well. It's not just like, I don't know. I mean, I know Skype's been around for a long time, but like it's honestly something that like I use with my grandma. It wasn't something that I ever really thought that this is how I'm going to communicate with like people, right? And there is this. It's being accepted as an acceptable and professional way to interact with each other. So, that cultural shift has happened as well. So like jump on board, don't get left behind. I do believe in supporting small businesses, people that have, you can't eat pizza virtually. Like you got to have a place that makes the pizza and gets it to you. Those people do need love and they do need tons of support, but there are some businesses that you could, you got a great idea, you find out how to do it virtually. And there's a big world, like big world out there to make money doing what you love, but I'm all for the technology and seeing where it takes us.
Well, Susannah, we have to adapt. At the end of the day, 2 decades, 3 decades, you mentioned the 90s, the computer was still a new thing. The dial-up, we used to, what do you call that? Like the dial-up, the modem, that make like, you have 2 minutes before you can even get online.
And then once you were online, it was like,
it's like
really
like buffering.
slow.
I know. But technology you had to adapt. I wish I learned coding. That's the biggest thing, but
Yeah.
Now there's platforms that bypass the coding, and yes, you know what? Let the coders do the coding. I just need to use the services.
Exactly.
And again, we help each other. That's all. And you're right. You can't have food virtually. I mean,
Not yet. Anyway, I don't know.
I don't know how that's gonna work, but I mean, maybe
know.
subconsciously. But my stomach still needs to feel something.
3D printers, I don't know. I mean, just wrapping my head around the idea of a 3D printer, to me, it blows my brain. Like, I'm just like, what do you mean? And I don't know who. At this point, 10 years ago, we would have never thought that 3D printers would have been like what they are. I don't know, in 5 years from now, can it make food? I'm not putting anything past technology at this point. I'm not.
Listen, there's nanotechnology, there's all kind of quantum, physics now, and there's stuff that we barely are understanding. And at least the common folk is, unless you're in the science field. But at the end of it is exciting, and robots are becoming more, common.
I know.
AI is big now. I mean, look, you can just talk to Siri and Alexa and all these guys, and they can talk to you back and give you all the stuff. You don't even have to search anymore by your hands. You just can you find me what's going on? And they'll tell you, this is what's going on right now.
It'll give you advice.
That's right.
Get advice from your automated robot, system in your thermostat, or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm not threatened by it. I mean, I know that I understand that there is a certain, portion of the population that maybe feels, threatened by it, and it's different men and women, age groups, different things like that. But for me, it's the tide, it's the momentum. It's so big, it's too big to fail. It's already it's a tsunami coming up behind you. You're either grab a surfboard or, you're toast. So
I like that.
I'm with it.
Well, it's amazing because you're right with the technology and everything. It's moving fast, but we will, and we're adjusting. You're right. Some business may get affected. For example, the real estate got affected, tremendously. But you know what? There's other ways real estate can be used for, and they still need to have, places for service. There's all this stuff. So they just have to adjust their clientele and how they're going to get their business. A lot of jobs, most of the operations can be done remotely. Sales, I get it. We can do telephonic sales. We can do virtual sales now. I actually introduced virtual sales agents a few years back before even the pandemic, where you have these kiosks and you can talk, you click, and you can speak to someone live, and they just like this, they'll be talking to you instead of going to your home. And I just used technology that was available, but we did it at a mall, right? But the fact is, you have to adapt. And yes, one of the things, the newspapers, everybody had live newspapers. That was the only thing. With digital, it's changed a lot, but these companies had to adjust.
We all have to,
and that's all there is.
That's all it is.
Well, listen, we exceeded the time frame here.
Yeah, I know, but we were talking about fascinating stuff. So
I love it. I enjoyed it. I know. Well, listen. So I know. Just wanted to conclude the show today, but so your business right now is really coaching people, helping them. I will actually share your site on the description of the show, so people can have access to it, and they can reach out to you. And you do serve, I guess, everywhere. We're talking about virtual; it can be anywhere in the world. Yep. And you have different programs. You mentioned about 10 weeks worth of a program.
It's an effective. It's a breakthrough program, and it is epically transformational. I've done it myself. I did it when I learned it. So I'm a master NLP practitioner, and as part of learning that, I had to go through this process myself. And so for me, it's what I do. I focus on one thing, and it isn't just one thing. It's when I say a breakthrough, like, not to be dramatic, but to be very dramatic, it's your life will change. So it's all I have to, it's like all I have to do, but it's a lot, so that's what I do.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
Susannah,
Yeah.
it was a pleasure, an honor.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you, and thank you for taking us through your journey. I mean, it's just a very very unique, experience, a very unique show because of who you are and your background and everything you had to go through, and also for being honest and sharing with us some of the personal stuff that sometimes people don't want to share, and but that's key because some people would probably be going through the same and they may not know a way out. Now they have a way out. You can be successful. That's it. Know this. Believe in it. No matter what.
Believe in it. Awesome. Thank you so much for today. And, really, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And I can't believe it's already been an hour. So
I know. It was like,
I'll see you on my show next. So, we'll have another hour to chat.
There you go. Well, I have to cross my fingers on that. I don't know how it's going to go, but, I haven't been on that side of the fence except once. So let's see.
Okay.
I think I can handle it.
You'll be all right.
We'll have fun. We'll have fun. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you. Listen, I appreciate the time and, thank you for everything. Folks, thank you for watching and listening on the radio. And we'll be talking soon. New guest, new show, new topic. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.